Sorry, I'm late. Sorry, I'm late. Look, sometimes life gets in the way. What's up, everybody? Welcome back into Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. Hope everybody's having such a great Saturday so far. And we're going to get into reviewing a lot of the Enrique Delgado-Garcia case, as on Wednesday, Casey Lamonte, the final MSP trooper that's going to be charged with and facing his charges of involuntary manslaughter on Wednesday. So I want to go back and kind of review this case tonight through a lot of the hearings and a lot of the initial news that kind of like hit the airways. So we're going to hear Worcester County DA's Early's first initial press conference. We're going to hear the charging press conference. And then I have a couple of sound bites that I got over the last couple of hearings. So I want to get into that. Definitely go over that because I want people to really get involved in this case. This case is going to be really big when this goes to trial. If it goes to trial, if there's no plea agreements in between that, I think this is going to be ultimately, another massive case that's going to break open a lot of corruption. And I don't know if you guys have gone back and read through any of the charging documents, but you will hear about that from David Myers, special investigator David Myers' mouth this evening. We'll play through that press conference. And then I want to bring up some of the charging document and go through the specifics to particularly Jennifer Penton and Casey Lamonte, their charges and what their involvement was, alleged involvement in this crime. So let me just go up to the chat and then we're going to open up. We'll start with a video. To actually have a small article I want to pull up really quick. Jay Boogie, what's up, buddy? Hey, when are you going to start doing your spaces again, man? I miss you. I miss you guys, you and Amy together. Hope all is well, and I hope you guys are going to start doing that again, because I really miss those. DS is saying justice for Enrique Delgado-Garcia, whose life was taken so tragically by the system, who should have helped him. Deborah, that's a great way to describe it. Absolutely great way to describe this. I agree. There were, 4 individuals that were in charge of his life at that academy. And, in my opinion, they failed to do that. So let's see. V, thank you for being here. Good morning from Australia. Good morning. Good morning. Greg's in the house. How are you? Granny's over here. Nice to see you. Viper from Wyoming. I went through Wyoming many, many, many years ago in the early probably like early 1991 or 2. And I drove all the way across. We went up through Wyoming to go into Salt Lake City, Utah. And it was one of the best driving experiences I've been on in my entire life. If you have not driven across the United States, I urge everybody to do that and at least see it once, because it's pretty cool. It's an awesome experience. Get to see many, many different landscapes, and especially when you get out to the Pacific, out west and in the Pacific Northwest. It's unbelievable. The sights are amazing. Good to see Jay Boogie again. Jeannie's in the chat. Nice to see you. Good evening, Paula. Nice to see you as well. Paula says, love the flannel. Thank you so much. I love it. I still feel like we can't get into spring yet. We're almost there, but not really, and still, rocking the flannel. So let's see. Oh, good. Tuesday, you're going to be back. Awesome. Let's see. D Mart in the house. What's going on? And Viper in the house. Yes, it is very, very gorgeous. All right, let's do this. Let's get to this here. I wrote on ltlmedianews.com. You can check over my blogs and articles over there. Also, if you click on this tab at the top, if you're not getting my notifications, just go over, check my website, and I'll post when my shows are going to be. And the cool thing about it is if you can't get to YouTube, you get to the website, you just click on the play button there and it will play. I'll post when my shows are going to be. And the cool thing about it, it'll play my live show. So I don't know why I just shut that down. We got to pull that tab back up. Hang on one second. Let's go to this article. So let's talk about Casey Lamonte. Good evening, good afternoon, good night. Hello, Robert. How are you? Good to see you. All right, let's go to this article. So let's talk about Casey Lamonte. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Hello, Robert. How are you? Good to see you. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Hello, Robert. How are you? Simon says, ready to boogie woogie with Brian and LTL crew. 2340 over here in Leeds, England. Well, thanks for checking in. I appreciate that. All right, let's get to this like quick little blog that I did the other day. Is Massachusetts State Trooper Casey Lamonte trying to cover his tracks? So as I read through the charging document, I found this kind of nugget in there, and I wanted everybody to know about this. So Mass State Police Casey Lamonte is not just accused of being present. According to prosecutors, he allegedly tried to cover up what happened to Enrique Delgado-Garcia by revisiting an already approved lesson plan after the fact, while Delgado-Garcia was actually on his way to the hospital. And just think about how sick that is. And then creating another document that inaccurately described the boxing-related training connection to his injuries. And if you look at the charging document, I'm going to read this really quick. For example, shortly after Delgado-Garcia was taken by ambulance to the academy to UMass Memorial Medical Center, and after conversations and communications with Sergeant Penton, Trooper Rodriguez, and other academy staff, Trooper Lamonte accessed and revised a previously approved lesson plan for the defensive tactic exercises on Wednesday, September 11th. Specifically, Trooper Lamonte revised the approved lesson plan after the fact by inserting language that the boxing fundamentals were part of the approved defensive tactic exercise on Wednesday, September 11th. And if you're new coming into this, that was not part of the lesson plan. So that was the day that Enrique essentially received a concussion that was not appropriately handled, not appropriately medically advised or looked over, not appropriately recorded. And then they go into Thursday, the actual approved lesson plan in front of the class and instructors, and he ultimately ends up dying because of that boxing match that he's involved. Trooper Lamonte also created a second boxing-related document shortly after Delgado-Garcia's boxing match ended on Thursday, September 12th, that inaccurately described the training activities on Wednesday, September 11th, and Thursday, September 12th. So not only did he go back to revise the plan to make it look like that the approved lesson plan was on Wednesday, as Enrique's being brought to UMass Medical, dying, he decides to allegedly go in and create another document to make it look like this was all approved. That's how sick this is. It says, moreover, neither the members of the defensive tactic unit nor the academy command staff were able to provide a clear picture, whether verbally to investigate or the special statewide grand jury or in writing in a daily activity report, of who have been present and what could have occurred during the boxing-related sparring exercises on Wednesday, September 11th, when Delgado-Garcia suffered concussion-like symptoms. And I just said, when the paperwork changes after a young recruit is killed, we have every right to ask why. And I certainly agree with that. But that's how sick this is. Karen says, it just shows the unconscious of guilt. He knew he fucked up. Yeah, it's if you want corruption, I mean, manipulating documents that are related to someone's life. I mean, that's insane. I mean, just think about that. To cover your own ass, allegedly, to go in and cover your own ass and create these documents to make it look like what was there was the truth and certainly wasn't the truth. Man. Okay, let's go to the first press conference after Delgado-Garcia was announced. This is back on 9/16/2024. I can't believe that we're almost 2 years deep in this case, but I'm finally happy at the place that we're at. And we'll play that first press conference. If you haven't heard this, it's going to be a lot of review tonight to get everybody, caught up to speed as to what's going on. All right, here we go.
All right. You're right here. Okay.
So So the thing that's kind of fucked up about this press conference that I'm going to point out is that the family goes there to get their condolences by DA Early and a lot of the people that Enrique worked with in the Worcester County DA's office. He was a witness advocate for the DA's office in Worcester. So they get summons there. I think there were some belongings that they had picked up from what I remember in conversations. So they're picking up some of his belongings. They spend time with people that he worked with and get condolences. Also, DA Early is there. Now, the way that this is set up, they had no fucking idea that they were going to be brought out into this press conference. And the only way that this could have happened, so I'm guessing, is they're somewhere in the DA's office. They are seeing the staff that he worked with, getting condolences, and then on the way out, this press conference is summoned. And the way that they had to come through, this was the only way that they could get out. So this was the only exit. So they kind of get ushered in. That's why you're seeing their faces are like, their eyes are just wide. They were not prepared for this. They were not ready for this. And they kind of just got ushered out. And that's why you're going to see at the end of this press conference, like, does the family want to say anything? And they're just in shock at this point. So it was handled very poorly. And I must say, his mom right here, and I don't know if you could see. Well, actually, I'll just do this right here. Every single time that I have been in and around his mom, Sandra, in court, out around courthouses that I've seen her, this has been her posture. His mom is devastated. This family wants these people held accountable. And my heart really goes out to her because I feel her pain. And, I must say, like, since I've covered this case, I've really tried to keep my distance from the family and not bother them so much and just kind of observe. But this has been her posture every time I've gone to, a court hearing and seen them in court. I mean, it's devastating for her, and rightfully so. Here we go.
Okay. Come on right over there.
Just sit down.
Jeff, you and Terry over there. Please.
Yeah, I feel out of rhythm today. I apologize. I just haven't had a good day overall. Today's been kind of a cranky Brian day. Just had a lot of things on my mind this week, or the last couple of weeks, that have kind of in my personal life that have kind of been bothering me. And I just feel way off this afternoon or this evening. So I apologize. I'm kind of jumpy and had a lot on my mind, but this is very important to me. So I wanted to come on here and do this for you guys tonight. All right, here we go. I'm going to turn on caps too. And I'll boost it up so we can hear it.
Okay. All right. Good morning. Enrique Delgado-Garcia was pronounced deceased at UMass Hospital Lakeside at 4:30 p.m. on September 13th, Saturday. Enrique Delgado-Garcia was loved by everyone in our office. He's a dedicated victim witness advocate who joined our office and was with us for about a year and a half before he left our office in April to fulfill a lifelong dream of joining the Massachusetts State Police. This is a time of mourning for Enrique's family, friends, and loved ones. This includes many of us, his fellow victim witness advocates, office employees who worked alongside Enrique within our office. This is a heartbreaking and tragic loss. Enrique constantly worked to make life better for others. He was one of the first ones to help, whether it was the victims he was advocating for, his fellow co-workers. He always did so with one of the biggest smiles that you've ever seen. He's a unique individual. I remember many evenings after 6 p.m. that I'd be walking out of my office and Enrique would still be at the front, either talking on the phone to a victim's family. And it would be Enrique, myself, and Margaret Rwamba, who was the supervisor within the victim witness office. We try and get him to go home. Say, Enrique, what are you doing here? It's time to go home. And he said, no, Mr. Early, I'll be leaving soon. I got a few things I still need to do. And yeah.
All right, let me just pause here real quick. Simon says, love Mike and of the Young Jerks and Brian LTL standing up for corruption and trying to get justice for the victims and families involved. Hey, that's why I started this platform, back in 2021. I've just kind of told my story. It's this channel started out as many things and then just evolved into, I don't know, true crime, witness advocate, a community awareness type of channel. And that really took kind of precedent when I started covering the Idaho 4 case. And I covered that case probably close to almost a year and a half, just maybe over a year and a half. And then, eventually, kind of found my way into the Karen Reed case and, history be written. And here I am now. And, my whole thing has just always been, if I can get to someone, if I can help someone in my community, if I can get stories out there to make people aware of things that are going on, police corruption, especially here in this community. And we have a lot of it. We have a lot of it here in the state of Massachusetts. And that's another, and I hate to say it, the gift that just keeps on giving, but maybe not the not so gift, but the subject matter that keeps giving. And it's just why I want to do this. This is why I enjoy doing this. And if I can help in any way and get information out there through my platform, that's why I'm here, And I've kind of said that from the start. You can like me or hate me, but when you come here, you're just going to get content, news. It's what I enjoy doing. All right, here we go.
You'd always say I got a little bit more here to do. I always got someone else I'm helping, Mr. Early. And because of this close relationship, someone else will be handling this matter. There's no way this office can handle this. Everyone loved Enrique. At this time, the state police detectives assigned to our office will continue to investigate this matter. They were called to the Massachusetts State Police Academy when Enrique was injured on Thursday, and they began an investigation. They've continued to investigate and continue to do so just as they would on any other case. And they will also work with whoever takes this matter. We don't have a cause and manner of death to release at this time as the autopsy report has been concluded. The autopsy has been concluded, but the autopsy report has not been finalized. It will be completed by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Now I'm going to be limited in what I can take for questions. I'll try and answer some questions. We're early into this. And again, our office isn't handling this. Today, we're here for Enrique. This is all about Enrique. But I'll try and answer a few questions if I can.
The people in your office who are investigating, are they going to continue to simultaneously investigate with another outside body, or are they going to just pass what they have on to an independent investigator?
They're going to continue to investigate. I don't know who will be handling the investigation. I just know it will be someone without a stake in its outcome. Okay? They'll make those decisions. That's not for me to make those decisions. Again, I have a conflict. Whoever does take over this matter will be making those decisions. But right now, we're going to continue to investigate. We're going to do it just as it is. Will other things be done? I'm sure that they will. But that's something I can't speculate on at this point.
There only has concerns. In other cases in the state, the state police are under a lot of scrutiny for the way they've been investigating things that involve other state troopers. Would you rather see this go to the federal level and away from the state police?
Okay. I'm not going to speculate as to that, Bob. I did talk to several people about taking over this matter on Friday. I'm not going to get into who they are. I'm not going to get into who they are. And we talked about the case. My concern is that we can't investigate it, okay? And I want it done by someone who doesn't have a stake in its outcome. And I hope.
Funny, you're going to hear Special Investigator David Meyer kind of echo that in his statement. We're going to play that here in a little bit when the initial charges were rolled out on February 9th. And I'm kind of glad that DA Early stepped aside in this case. And I'm very glad that there's an independent investigator. There was an independent investigator that had no agenda, had no skin in the game to come into this and look at it in an unobjective way. You know, there was no objective. It was just go in, investigate, gather the facts, write a report, find out what happened. And that's what happened. And yeah, we were all very critical about it. This is taking a lengthy amount of time. This is taking too long. Why hasn't the medical examiner's report come out? Well, they do take time. And I have to say it was done the right way, because look at the conclusion that we're at now. If this was rushed, or let's just say the Massachusetts State Police were doing their own investigation into this, how do you think this would have turned out? Do you think that there would be 4 MSP state troopers being held responsible right now? 4 of them facing involuntary manslaughter charges, and 1 of them facing not only involuntary manslaughter, but facing perjury for their alleged lying to a grand jury where they had the opportunity multiple times to tell the truth and they did not. Do you think that we would have been there? And that's why I get scared about another case that I talk about out of Rhode Island in a very similar situation. A Capitol Police recruit, Chiron Lopes. The thing that scares me about that, well past 90 days, it's past 120 days now, well past 120 days, no medical finalization in the medical examiner's report. Oh, and by the way, there's no independent investigation into his case. From what the family has told me, it's the Rhode Island State Police that are investigating it. And I've called to Peter Nohira, the Attorney General of Rhode Island. I've tried to reach out to Dan McKee, the governor of Rhode Island, and ask them, where is the independent investigation? This case needs an independent investigation. You need someone to come in without an agenda and get it done the right way. And I hope and I pray that things don't get buried in Chiron Lopes' case, because that family deserves justice. He gets taken by ambulance to Rhode Island Hospital in what says at the Trainee Academy, a panic attack. He gets to the hospital, and under the medical evaluation, blood on the brain, a severely bruised leg, and then days after, he has organ failure. Does that sound like a panic attack to you? And then floating around the ER at that time too, someone was saying and stating that he was in a fight with 6 guys at the academy. Does that sound like a panic attack to you? Doesn't sound like a panic attack to me. So that case needs an independent investigation. All right, let's get back to the presser.
That answers your question.
The police are really concerned, people are really concerned that Enrique was beaten to death, that his teeth were knocked out. What are your concerns, and what do you know about what happened at the academy last week?
Again, we know it was in the boxing ring. It was videotaped.
It was not in the boxing
like I said,
ring.
the
It was videotaped.
autopsy's been concluded, but the report hasn't been finalized. So, but I shouldn't be speaking to that. It's going to be whoever we give this matter to will be able to address that. And they've got to be able to do a thorough and complete investigation. And again, it has to be someone without a stake in its outcome.
And I'll also add this to the Chiron Lopes case. In Enrique's case, just within days, if not a week, Enrique Delgado-Garcia's family were able to view the video of the incident, which, yes, I think is a formidable part of the story, but a lot of the danger in this case and a lot of the missteps in this case and a lot of the criminal missteps in this case was the leadership, the failure to intervene. That's why Enrique lost his life. Not only the failure to intervene, but the after effect in the lying in the alleged cover-up. With Chiron Lopes' case, there is a video that was taken inside the facility. That's what the Rhode Island DA's office told Chiron Lopes' mom, Annette. Why haven't they seen the video? It's been over 120 days. All right, let's go. It's just staggering to me.
State Police Academy, MSP troopers, is that a conflict?
At this point, we have a conflict as an office, but right now we can't stop this investigation. And the state troopers that we have assigned to our state police detective unit are some of the finest, most professional people that I've ever dealt with in my life. And I am certain that they will continue to do this in a professional way. And we've got to do things. You just can't stop an investigation. There's some things that have to be, they're time sensitive, they have to keep going. But whoever does handle this matter will have an opportunity to review everything from top to bottom, bring in outside consultants, do whatever they think they need to do with regards to this.
So who is making that decision over who will be this new investigative body?
I'm speaking to people now about whether or not who will take it and who, if they have the ability to take it, and we're going back on different things right now. And
Another DA's office?
I don't think another DA's office is appropriate, but I don't want to get into that either. Again, they have state troopers that work, and it's a paramilitary organization and there's a chain of command. So again, I'd like to see someone take this that doesn't have a stake in the outcome of this case.
Do you think there should be an FDR investigation?
Oh, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get in. I'm we don't know enough. I'm not going to speculate on that again. I just want to have someone looking at this, eyes looking at this, who doesn't have a stake in the outcome of the case.
You have a grieving family next to you that are concerned that this may be criminal. Do you believe there's anything criminal that happened at the academy?
Not going to speculate. That's too early in the investigation. Again, I had a conflict. They have a conflict. We have a conflict. We love Enrique. And again, this is about Enrique today. We want to make sure that what needs to be done gets done. And again, by someone without a stake in the outcome of this case.
Are any policy changes going to take place at the academy while the investigation is happening?
Yeah, that'd be a question for the state police.
Why did Enrique want to become a police officer?
His family is looking for privacy right now, but as they tell me, it was his lifelong dream to be a state trooper.
That is the most tone deaf fucking part of this whole thing. Not from the reporter. The reporter asked the question, why did Enrique want to become a state trooper? And Joe Early turns to the family and says, they're asking for privacy right now. If you felt that, you wouldn't have fucking toted them out there in this interview. You would have let them go home. And you could have stood there, at this podium without the family and announced what you had to announce here. Do this press conference without the family there. Exactly, Karen. Privacy, then why are they there? Right. You can see, look at the body language of Enrique's mom right now. She doesn't want to be there, and it's probably really uncomfortable to get up and just walk out. I don't know. I probably would have done it. But
I begged Enrique to stay. I said, come on, you got a place home. You got a home here. And we talked about maybe when you're a state trooper coming back and being a state police detective as well within our office. Because I thought he is such a fine, upstanding young man.
Exactly,
He'd be the perfect representative for his family, his community. He's just an amazing young man.
So would they be able to say a couple of words for us?
They don't want to, and they're just asking for privacy.
Why are they there?
I don't think any of that's changed. Yeah. Do you want to say anything or?
No, they don't.
What was he like?
Your call. You don't have to. It's up to you.
Lo que queremos es que respeten la privacidad, el dolor.
No, they
This is insane.
They don't want to say anything. Just ask that you respect their privacy at this point. All his coworkers are over here. This is just an amazing kid. About a year and a half. And
So those are the coworkers that the family came to meet with. So you have the coworkers here. Look at their faces. And they're probably sitting there going, why is this family getting put through this right now? So there was a meeting they held. They were asked to come to the DA's office. They came in. They met with some of the coworkers. And from what I remember in my conversations, they were there to pick up some belongings as well. They shared a lot of condolences. And then they get ushered out into this press conference. Blindedly ushered out into this press conference. You can see they're not prepared. They didn't want to be there. respect their privacy. Well, if you respect their privacy, you would have let them go. Not be there. Is just very poorly handled.
If he was the nicest, if he wasn't, he was one of the nicest employees that ever worked for us, if not the nicest employee. That smile lit up a room, and he could handle people. He'd take Margaret, his supervisor, say, Enrique, you got to get up to the courtroom. You got to get up to the courtroom. And you go, just a minute, Margaret, I have to finish with this person. I'm almost done. They want to be heard. I got to help them. And Margaret does an incredible job with her staff, about 24 people. And I know Enrique was one of her favorites. So,
Joe, what does it mean that he was pinned with his badge and was given the oath of office before he's passed away, that he will now be remembered as a trooper in Massachusetts?
I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to ask the state police with regards to that. I'm not going to get into that.
Can you clarify the decision on what investigation? Will the governor have a say on who pick up this investigation?
Right now we have jurisdiction of the case. And as you can see, we can't handle this case because we have a conflict. Again, we love Enrique. I'm sure other people are going to be weighing in on the case. There'd be some appropriate questions for other people. But we think right now, based on the amount of questions you have, based on the activity, based on the family's concerns, we're going to get someone to review this matter that does not have a stake in its outcome.
So you'll ultimately have jurisdiction over making the call or who takes over the investigation? Or?
Our office, yes, we're going to decide where it goes out to. And again,
transparent will this process be?
we're trying to keep it as transparent as possible, though. And that would be.
I don't get it. Like when they say, we want privacy, you can clearly tell they don't want to be there. They're not being forced to be there. I don't know. Maybe check the temperature of the room when they say, can you respect our privacy? He probably should have turned to them and said, you know what? I'm going to let these guys go. Let's let them have their privacy and let them go. It's really what he should have done. But you have this extremely uncomfortable moment, 15 minutes that they're up there. They're grieving. The mother just lost her son. They just lost a brother. They just lost a cousin. They're asking for privacy and you're keeping them there, under this kind of media hostage. Have some balls, step up and say, you know what? They're asking for privacy. Let's do this. Let's let them go. Get them out of here. Let's let them be private and grieve. Karen, thanks for the 10. Says, and the mom doesn't speak English. No one is even there translating for them. It is shameful how they were treated. That is the way out of the building, and they were trapped. So I must say, the lady that is beside Joe Early is essentially their translator. I don't know if it's a member of the family at the time, but she was the one that was doing the translating.
Let someone else take a look at it.
Mom does speak English. It's just very broken. I've had some conversations with her. She's a very lovely lady. That family is so nice, in such a cohesive unit. I see them, I've been seeing them at the court, the court hearings, and they're just so together as a family, like very cohesive family unit. Sad, very sad situation.
I can't get into that at this point. I'm sure that'll all be part.
Are you confident that the entirety of the incident was captured on the video?
I can't speculate.
Entire incident was.
Have you watched
Right now, you want to give it.
I have not. No, I'm not looking to give it to another DA's office. I don't think that would be fair to my fellow DAs. They all have state police detective units. They all have a chain of command. I'm looking for someone who can look at this with an independent view, who doesn't have a stake in its outcome.
Somebody from out of state, would that be on the federal level?
I don't know where we're going to go on that, Bob. The people I talked to were in state. I talked to about 4 different entities on Friday afternoon about the possibility of taking this over for us. Okay.
When do you think you'll have a decision?
I don't know.
Sometime this week?
I would hope. I would hope so. I would hope so. Yeah. I would hope so.
Want to see if anybody else would like to say anything about Enrique for us?
Who would work with him?
People that work with them.
Let these people
you have
go.
to-
Don't put them in this position.
His role and what his responsibilities were.
We're going to leave that alone for right now. These guys are hurt. They were all downstairs crying 5 minutes ago. We're going to give them a break right now, okay?
Can you comment on the situation in Milford? There was a stabbing.
Sure. That's being investigated right now. It appears we have 2 dead.
I mean,
Waiting to get a report back.
you're sitting here and you're look at the faces. They don't want to be there. These are people in the DA's office. They don't want to be there and speak right now. This is still fresh in their mind. It's just a couple days later. You get the family, you see in the body language of the family, you don't want to be there either. Cut these guys loose.
That's being investigated right now. It appears we have 2 dead. Waiting to get a report back. We don't have anything else for you at this point. Okay, excuse me. 1 dead, 1 critical. 1 dead, 1 critical. I'm sorry.
Is the videotape what happened to Enrique, is that Mass State Police property, or was that done at one of their, I don't know, I guess, training facilities, or?
It was at the academy. I don't know who has ownership of it. I just know that who's ever doing the investigation will have that.
You said you haven't did it?
I have not. I have.
This is personal for you, because he was such a great employee and he went on to go into law enforcement. How difficult is this for you as the DA?
This is as hard as it gets. I mean, I love that kid. Love that kid. He's just the nicest kid in the world. I said kid, he was 25. He's a young man. Whole life in front of him. It's hard. Yes, it's hard. It's hard for all of us. I'm not the only one in this office suffering. There are a lot of people hurting right now. Okay? What's that?
How can people honor Enrique?
Pray for him. Say prayers. Say prayers for his family. They are hurt. All right. Thank you.
So tone deaf. Such a tone deaf press conference. See, and that's the way out. Look, this is the way out. They had to come through that circle and through this press area to get out of the building. That's the way out of the building. See what they made them do? Go look how quick they're just going. They didn't want to be there. And that's what they did to that family. It was awful. A terrible situation. All right, let's go to February. David Meyer and attorney Andrea Campbell announced formal charges of 4 MSP officers being charged in the death of Enrique Delgado-Garcia. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here.
I'll boost this up.
On September 13th, 2024, Massachusetts State Trooper Enrique Delgado-Garcia died while training to become a Massachusetts State Trooper. He sought to become a state trooper to fulfill his dream of serving and protecting the people of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Shortly after Enrique's death and after consultation with Worcester District Attorney Joe Early, I appointed an independent investigator, Attorney David Meyer, to review the facts surrounding Enrique's death. I want to thank Enrique's family, his friends, his fellow trainees, and the public for their tremendous.
I want to clarify that. Ann says, when Trooper Enrique was flown by helicopter to UMass, I was at Patriots Place by Sun, and I looked up and saw the state helicopters flying over. How sad. I'm just going to let you know, and I know this for fact too, doing some investigative work on this, and it is in the charging document. So I just want to be careful about what we say. Page 8, it says, for example, shortly after Enrique Delgado-Garcia was taken by ambulance from the academy to UMass Memorial Medical Center, and after communications with Sergeant Penton, Rodriguez, and other staff academy, Lamont accessed the revised previous approved lesson plan for the defensive tactic exercises on Wednesday, September 11th. So I just want to clarify that. And not saying, I'm just letting you know it's in the charging document. I know specifically it was taken by ambulance as well too. So
Patience as this process unfolded. I know that to some, this process has felt long and opaque. Independent investigations are careful and thorough by necessity. In order to maintain the integrity of their process, certain aspects cannot be shared with the public. That confidentiality is by design to ensure fairness for everyone involved. Enrique was a public servant. He began his career in the Worcester District Attorney's Office as a victim witness advocate. His family has spoken openly about his intention of being someone who made a difference in the community and his dreams of becoming a Massachusetts state trooper. He was a son, a brother, an uncle, and a friend. Enrique should be alive today. Given the extraordinary nature of these events and the complexity of this case, it was necessary to appoint an independent out.
And I'll just pause this. I mean, look at, it's not a problem. I will say this, there's a lot of misinformation floating around about this case. And that's why, from what I've gotten to know, the people that I've spoken with, sources that have come forward, I did a lot of vetting in this case, and I did a lot of, I wanted to say protecting the information that was put out there, because I wanted to make sure the correct information was put out there. It was a lot of things in the very beginning of this, like, oh, he had an aneurysm. He didn't have an aneurysm. And I knew that from people that I talked with and sources that came forward. And I have to say this too, is how can you make a predetermination when the final medical examiner's report wasn't even put out yet? People were floating around aneurysm. And then come to find out, guess what? He didn't have an aneurysm. He had concussion. He had a major concussion that caused bleeding on the brain. That's ultimately what killed him. So there was tons of misinformation out there. And I didn't want this family to go through that. And that's why I was very protective of things that were said about this. And that's why I come back and just correct the record for anything that was or may be put out there that's wrong. And I'm not doing it to be a dickhead. I'm doing it to keep the facts straight in this case. So, I've gotten a lot of shit for that. But you know what? All the things that I've said in this case have been right. Because you just got to do a lot of vetting. You have to, really investigate your source and make sure that what they're putting out and telling you is the correct information. Guess what? I was right. I was right the whole damn time. Okay, let's get back to this presser.
Side investigator. Death investigations are typically handled by the local district attorney. In this case, however, Worcester DA Joe Early appropriately determined that his office had a conflict because Enrique worked in his office as a victim witness advocate. Following conversations with DA Early, we determined that Enrique and his family deserved an investigation that was completely impartial and devoid of any perception or appearance of conflict. That's why I appointed Attorney Meyer. Attorney Meyer has extensive experience both as a prosecutor and a defense attorney, including 12 years in the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, where he supervised, investigated, and prosecuted death investigations within Suffolk County. He has since served as partner at Todd & Weld. In this case, David investigated the facts of Enrique's death and the circumstances that surrounded it, just as my office or any other district attorney's office and its investigators would have done. My office was briefed about the investigation along the way and provided logistical support. Because of the design of the investigation, Attorney Meyer had his own independent team to conduct the investigation, and he had full autonomy in making investigatory and charging decisions in this case, which he will discuss shortly. I am grateful to Attorney Meyer for his thorough efforts to follow the facts and to seek accountability to those responsible for Enrique's death. In no way is this investigation, in the charges it has yielded, a condemnation of all law enforcement. The men and women who choose to serve, protect our communities, often in difficult and dangerous circumstances. Our law enforcement members, including those who serve in my very office, are essential to public safety and the rule of law. I know just how much The Commonwealth benefits from the men and women in uniform who serve the public because I see it up close every day. Many officers go beyond their law enforcement jobs, mentoring young people, supporting community programs, actively working in our communities in a very challenging time to build trust. Their service deserves respect and recognition. And just as they protect us, it is our responsibility to ensure that our inspiring officers at the Massachusetts Police Training Academy are protected from preventable harms and to seek accountability when serious incidents occur. There is nothing more serious than the loss of a life. We can both honor the men and women who serve while also still ensuring accountability within a system, especially when someone dies. Lastly, while Attorney Meyer's investigation focused on Enrique's death, there must be serious discussion and action with respect to reforms. I know that the State Police Colonel, Jeffrey Noble, has already undertaken efforts to effectuate change, and I'm grateful to him, and I look forward to supporting him in those endeavors going forward. Because this is an ongoing legal matter, there may be some questions that I cannot answer in order to preserve the integrity of Attorney Meyer's case. We appreciate your continued patience. And at this time, I'd like to turn over the podium to Attorney David Meyer.
Thank you, Attorney General Campbell, and good afternoon. On the day that I was appointed as independent counsel, I made a commitment to the family of Enrique Delgado-Garcia, to the Massachusetts State Police, to the public, and to the criminal justice system, that I would conduct the investigation professionally, thoroughly, and independently. I pledged to follow the facts and the law, to perform my work conscientiously and responsibly, and to exercise my independent judgment to reach whatever results the facts and the law dictated. I committed not to permit the speed of the investigation, the length of the investigation, or any other outside factors to influence the investigative process. I owed that to the family of Enrique Delgado-Garcia, to the Massachusetts State Police, to the public, and to the criminal justice system. When Attorney General Campbell appointed me, I knew nothing about the facts surrounding Enrique Delgado-Garcia's death or about the State Police Training Academy. I had no preconceived notion of the potential outcome of the investigation. With the support of an independent investigative team, my assignment was to gather the facts through any and all available.
I got to be honest with you. I didn't think that we were ever going to get to this point. And I don't know how to feel. Like, I don't know if it's happiness or joy that his family is going to get some type of answers now as to why. And hopefully that these juries see it that way, that someone gets held accountable in this. I didn't think we're ever going to get here. It just felt like it was taking forever. And I'm just like, wow, like we're at this point. And you're sitting here for months, in weeks, in days, and you're going, what the fuck is going on? What is taking so long? Well, come to find out, lawyers and union representatives, everybody lawyered up. Everybody went to their union representatives. You could see it on the first day of the three that were charged up in Worcester. They had the blue wall there supporting, the state troopers. There was a massive, the courtroom was filled. I was like, holy shit. Outside the courtroom, there was tons of people. And I'm like, this just feels like Karen Reed all over again. The massive amount of people that are here for this hearing today. And you'll see it. I'm going to play some videos here in a little bit. It's like waiting for this moment. I'm like, is this ever going to happen? Are we really going to get, or is this going to be some bullshit thing that, oh, nothing really happened, and they, like, they sweep this under the rug, and try to shut the family up with a bunch of money, and it's like, wow, like 4 troopers actually get charged. It's a good feeling that Meyer actually did his job correctly. He didn't hide behind an agenda. He didn't give a fuck about the Mass State Police. He didn't give a fuck about the Mass State Police. He cared about this family. He fucking cared about doing it right for this family. And I have to give David Meyer a lot of admiration for that. I shit on him at first. And I apologize for that. And I make mistakes. And listen, I believe me, I learn. And I actually wrote him an email a couple of weeks ago and said, thank you for your investigation. Of course, he probably couldn't comment. Of course, he couldn't write back. But I was, the initial handling of his case, I'm like, what's fucking taking so long? And then someone had to tell me and cool the jets a little bit and said, look, this is what happens in these situations. Lawyers and union representatives are going to step in and slow this fucking thing down to a crawl. And I love that Meyer did not let the MSP roll over on him. He went in, he peeled back the layers, he got to the truth, and here we are. Here we are.
Investigative means, taking as much time as we needed to do things the right way and to follow those facts and the applicable law wherever they may lead. I fully recognize that the investigative process has been lengthy and it has been conducted in silence, without public comment, at least on my part. That silence has been purposeful. It is a direct reflection of the nature of the investigation and of my ethical and legal obligations. At the same time, I can assure the public that the investigative process has been searching, it has been exhaustive, and it has been without outside influence. Given some of the challenges posed by the investigation, early last year, I sought judicial approval from the Chief Justice of the Superior Court to impanel a special statewide grand jury in order to conduct an independent fact-finding investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of Enrique Delgado-Garcia. The impanelment of a special statewide grand jury enabled us to compel the testimony of witnesses, to memorialize testimony under oath, to subpoena relevant documents and information, and to gather the facts in a formal proceeding before an independent body. At each stage of the process, the investigative team and I met with the family of Enrique Delgado-Garcia to update them on the status of the investigation. We met with the family this past weekend, and we spoke to them this morning. Over the course of the past 9 months, the grand jury has heard sworn testimony from over 150 witnesses, the vast majority of whom have been state police officers.
Massive.
And the grand jury has reviewed close to 350 physical exhibits, the vast majority of which relate to policies, procedures, activities, and events at the State Police Training Academy. The evidence gathered by the special statewide grand jury has revealed that in the days and weeks prior to September 12th, 2024, members of the State Police Training Academy committed a series of wanton and reckless acts in connection with various defensive tactics and physical confrontation training exercises conducted at the academy. The facts and circumstances underlying the wanton and reckless conduct include both A, affirmative acts by academy staff, and B, the failure of academy staff to take certain actions or omissions that they had a legal duty to perform during their daily interactions with the trainees who were under their care, guidance, and supervision. The wanton and reckless conduct resulted in Enrique Delgado-Garcia suffering concussion-like symptoms as the result of unauthorized, unapproved, and unsupervised boxing-related sparring exercises that occurred during academy training activities on Wednesday, September 11, 2024. I
just want to pause here real quick. I'm going to read this from the charging document. The testimony and exhibits before the grand jury also revealed certain significant facts about a related sequence of events that gave rise to the charge of perjury against Sergeant Penton. Within minutes of Enrique Delgado-Garcia being knocked out during his boxing match the following day, Thursday, September 12th, a fellow trainee reported to members of the defensive tactics unit that Mr. Delgado-Garcia had complained of loss of memory, headaches, and, quote, missing the day, and other concussion-like symptoms after the boxing sparring on the exercise on the previous day. The members of the defensive unit immediately informed their supervisor, Sergeant Penton, of the nature of Enrique Delgado-Garcia's complaints so that Penton could in turn relay the information to the emergency medical personnel treating Delgado-Garcia at the hospital, as well as to any appropriate individuals that might have inquired of her about her training activities the preceding day, Wednesday, September 11th. So basically, what this is alleging is that Penton and the other officers kind of wanted to erase Wednesday's activities. And then when they knew they were going to get fucking caught up in it, that's when Lamonte went back, allegedly, and started making false documentations to make it look like the Wednesday exercise was part of this approved Thursday sparring session that ultimately ended up killing Enrique Delgado-Garcia. So he was concussed. He had headaches. I think there was also reports of black eyes and bloody noses with some of the trainees. On the Wednesday, Enrique complained that his head didn't feel right on Wednesday. They ignored that evaluation and then allowed him to continue to spar with the most trained, the best fighter in the class. They paired him up with him again. And that led to ultimately Enrique Delgado-Garcia's death. Now, multiple times within that Thursday sparring or exercise, Enrique was knocked down multiple times. There were opportunities, major opportunities, to intervene and stop that fight, and they did not. They did not do that. And they allowed him to go into that second round. And in between rounds, I believe, from what I can remember, was at least a 60-second, pause. Like in between boxing rounds, when you watch a professional fight, they go back to the stool. I think it's 60 seconds. Enrique was on his stool, hunched over, and looked like he didn't want to continue. His co-partner was up within 20 to 30 seconds back to the center of the mat, ready to go. He was not affected at all. They came up into the second round. The round started about 20 seconds, maybe 15, 20 seconds in, was a 1-2 punch combo. And that's ultimately what put Enrique down. And he's a big man. And he fell back hard and smashed his head. Would look like a redwood tree falling in the forest. It's about how hard he hit. And then the medical response took at least 2 to 3 minutes. And inside that gym, the recruits or trainees were told to leave. Go back to your rooms. Felt very sterile. There was a lot of panic. But if he was evaluated correctly, and Jennifer Penton had the opportunity to tell that on Wednesday this was reported to her, that he said his head didn't feel right. And she had that opportunity to tell the medical staff that, and had the opportunity to tell the people that were evaluating Enrique before he was going to the hospital that this information was given to her, and she allegedly didn't do that. And then when they got her in front of the grand jury and she asked about it, remember, 150 witnesses testified. And then when she was asked about this in front of the grand jury, allegedly she covered it up. She had multiple times in front of that grand jury to tell the truth. And that's why she's facing perjury. All right, back to the presser.
And reckless conduct culminated in Enrique Delgado-Garcia suffering multiple blunt force injuries to the head and massive brain bleeding as the result of the failure of Academy staff to intervene and bring a stop to a competitive boxing match between Mr. Delgado-Garcia and a fellow trainee.
And that is to answer your question. Why was Enrique's teeth and leg broken? There you go. When he fell back, that probably caused the leg injury. And then the knocked out teeth, of course, were because of the injuries he sustained in that training exercise, that last training exercise. I tell you, that fucking kid that he fought against knew how to fight. And I've talked about this in one of my articles. Go back and watch Tyson's early fights. That fucking kid could hit hard.
Occurred during Academy.
Way overmatched. Enrique had the size, but this guy had the fucking skills. He knew what he was doing. He was a fighter. And that should have never happened. And from what I've been told in the academy, that when trainees come in, they constantly get evaluated on day one, constantly their physical, their ability to learn, their vocabulary, whatever, constantly evaluated. And especially in the physical department. So when they get to these defensive tactic exercises, there's not overmatching like it happened in this case. This matchup should have never happened. And it put Enrique in harm's way. This guy that was clearly the most, and it talks about in the charging document, clearly the most skilled fighter in that class. And I've even had Todd McGee in my program when he was over at the defensive tactics training facility. He ran that part of the academy for, I believe, well over 10 years. He wrote the operations of that part and said that people like that have that much skill normally don't get involved in any of these defensive tactic exercises. They're told to step aside because they're too well trained. And that's how people get hurt. And that's how people get killed.
Training activities the following morning on Thursday, September 12, 2024. Mr. Delgado-Garcia died the following day, September 13, 2024, as a result of the head injuries sustained during the recruit-on-recruit boxing match that Thursday morning. Based upon the facts and the law, the evidence gathered by the grand jury compels criminal prosecution of certain members of the Academy's Defensive Tactics Unit, the supervisor of the unit, and 3 full-time instructors. These individuals engaged in ongoing interactions with Enrique Delgado-Garcia on September 11, when he suffered concussion-like symptoms, and on September 12, when he was knocked unconscious. These individuals also had direct management and direct control over the physical training exercises themselves. Factually and legally, each of these individuals owed a duty of care to Enrique Delgado-Garcia and to his fellow trainees. Each of them interacted with Mr. Delgado-Garcia and his fellow trainees on a daily basis. And each of them committed a series of wanton and reckless acts and omissions that resulted in Enrique Delgado-Garcia's death. Given their roles and responsibilities on the Defensive Tactics Unit and their control over the training exercises, the wanton and reckless conduct committed by these individuals violated 2 criminal statutes in particular. General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 40, alleging the crime of causing serious bodily injury to a person participating in a training program involving physical exercise, and General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 13, alleging the crime of involuntary manslaughter. In addition, the evidence demonstrated that when the supervisor of the Defensive Tactics Unit was asked specifically under oath before the grand jury when it was that she first learned about Enrique Delgado-Garcia's concussion-like symptoms, she repeatedly responded falsely. Given the circumstances of this investigation and the nature of the information at issue, her testimony before the grand jury violated General Laws, Chapter 268, Section 1, alleging the crime of perjury.
Significantly, there is no evidence from whether the medical records, emergency medical technician, nurses, doctors, and any other source that Sergeant Penton ever relayed any information about the concussion-like symptoms that Enrique Delgado-Garcia had suffered the previous day to any medical personnel. Likewise, Penton failed to relay the information to state police investigators from the Worcester County DA's office during a recorded interview 1 week later. Oh, man, and I can't wait till we hear that fucking audio. Because I know if I FOIA it now, I'm not going to get it because it's part of an active case. But I can't fucking wait to hear that fucking audio of that interview in court. At which she repeated, which she was represented by counsel. When she was asked during the interview whether she was aware of any important facts regarding the death of Enrique Delgado-Garcia, Penton again failed to disclose any knowledge of her information about the concussion-like symptoms. Moreover, when she was asked directly, specifically, and repeatedly during her testimony before the statewide grand jury, at which she was represented by counsel, about her being informed of Enrique Delgado-Garcia's concussion-like symptoms by members of the Defensive Tactic Unit staff, Penton repeatedly denied being told such information on Thursday, September 12, 2024, or at any point during the week prior to her interview with state police investigators. Penton's conduct and responses not only reflect her consciousness of guilt regarding the events occurred under her supervision during the boxing-related sparring exercises on Wednesday, September 11th, but given the circumstances, her testimony before the statewide grand jury alleged the crime of perjury. Of the information that's issued, Delgado-Garcia had complained of loss of memory, headaches, and losing part of the day. I also heard that he said, my head doesn't feel right on that Wednesday. That was part of what I heard too from sources. And other concussion-like symptoms after the boxing-related sparring exercises on Wednesday, September 11th, the day before Boxing Day at the Academy, speaks for itself. So it's to the reasons that Penton's false testimony under oath about when she first learned of such critical information compelled prosecution. That's who Jennifer Penton is. And I've talked about this before. And listen, I don't want to get down on anybody's service. She served our country. She went over and did a rotation. She should know better. She should know better. So shame on you.
Now, each of these charges are merely accusations. Each of these individuals is presumed to be innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. These individuals have not been and will not be arrested. I have requested that the court issue a summons for their appearance at an arraignment hearing to be scheduled in the near future in coordination with the court and with their individual attorneys.
In my opinion, they should have been arrested, but I don't know the red tape around all of that. There may be something to that, and that's something I want to find out. Like, why were they not formally arrested? And I don't know all the red tape behind that stuff. You know, maybe that's something I can ask Todd. Let's see. I also want to get this on the record too. Per the Commonwealth statement, and I don't know, maybe something comes out during the trials. Based upon the testimony and the exhibits before the grand jury, there is no evidence that Delgado-Garcia was, quote, targeted in any way. There's no evidence that anyone, whether academy staff, fellow trainees, or others, harbored any personal animosity towards Delgado-Garcia. Now, I have my takes on that. And I just hope that this is not part of the deal to kind of soften a little bit of this, because this involves a death at the MSP Academy. But I got to say, I believe in Meyer. I believe he's a really honest investigator. He got to the truth in this. I got to believe that he would have flushed any of this out. And who knows, maybe something does come up at trial. I hope not. Hope he wasn't targeted. That'd be really gross.
With respect to each of these charges and each of these individuals, I have intentionally not referred to any of the specific underlying facts that were gathered and considered by the grand jury. Given my ethical and legal obligations, this is neither the appropriate time nor place to do so. Given the paramilitary structure of the State Police Training Academy, various members of the Academy command staff had the authority and the ability to address many of the circumstances surrounding Enrique Delgado-Garcia's death. At the same time, the evidence before the grand jury demonstrated that the nature and extent of their personal knowledge, personal involvement, and personal participation in the specific acts and omissions that resulted in Enrique Delgado-Garcia's death were insufficient to support criminal charges. Based upon the evidence, a reasoned and responsible evaluation of the facts and the law does not support criminal prosecution.
And I want to back up. Let me hear. Let's play this because I just had a source that came forward a couple of days ago and told me some information. Let's hear this again real quick.
Personal involvement and personal participation. At the same time, the evidence before the grand jury demonstrated that the nature and extent of their personal knowledge, personal involvement, and personal participation in the specific acts and omissions that resulted in Enrique Delgado-Garcia's death were insufficient to support criminal charges.
Now, some of those people, I was told by some sources that some of those people, there was some, how would you say, some backstage conversations to kind of put some resignations in. And I will say this, when this shit got around to Colonel Noble, his fucking head flipped. And he found out, and he said that if there was any encouragement of this, and he found out, if he investigated and found out of any encouragement of this, he would fucking demote and de-rank any of these people that are getting involved that were talking about, look, you got caught up in this. Maybe it's time to step away and retire type of conversations. And someone just revealed that to me a couple of days ago. So there was some shit going on in the background here. And I heard that Noble flipped his fucking lid about it. Where was I? Here we go.
Based upon the evidence, a reasoned and responsible evaluation of the facts and the law does not support criminal prosecution of members of the Academy's command staff, nor does my professional respect for and commitment to the rule of law. Insofar as I have shared with you generally that certain wanton and reckless acts and omissions compel the criminal prosecution of certain members of the Academy's Defensive Tactics Unit, I want to ensure that certain additional facts are made abundantly clear. Based upon the testimony and the exhibits before the grand jury, there is no evidence that Enrique Delgado-Garcia was targeted in any way. There is no evidence that anyone, Academy staff, fellow trainees, or any others, harbored any personal animosity towards Enrique Delgado-Garcia. There is no evidence that anyone acted with deliberation, premeditation, or malice. One final comment. I take no personal satisfaction, none, from where these facts have led. But I am confident that the investigative team and I have carried out our assignment professionally, responsibly, and independently. And I am confident that we have done so the right way and for the right reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Meyer. I'm happy to take a few questions.
Attorney General, a comment on the trainee who was involved in this boxing exercise. Any consequences for that trainee in this investigation?
Not in this investigation.
And when it comes
And I will just share what's being shared right now from the team is more detail on the charges and those who the charges are being brought against.
And Attorney General, when it comes to this investigation with the cost reaching $700,000, can you speak to the taxpayers on that investment and the results that were shown today?
Fucking question.
So my job in this case, given the conflict that existed for DA Early, was to ensure.
So the question was, the bill ran about $700,000 to look into this investigation. You know what? It was probably some of the best money ever spent, because we get a deeper dive into the Mass State Police, what's going on in that academy, because we all know it's very secretive up there. A lot of people don't talk about the things that go on up there. A fucking guy died while it was at the academy. Yeah, I think the $700,000 to go in and investigate this thing over 19 months is well worth the money. Well worth the money. So that was kind of a dumb question. I'm all for peeling back and opening the doors to corruption and letting people know, letting the public know what's going on in our facilities. They're supposed to be there to train citizens to protect other citizens. I'm all for that. Blow the door wide open.
Sure that the family got an independent investigation that would be thorough, that would be handled well, with integrity, a standard of excellence, and devoid of any conflict or appearance of conflict. By reputation and integrity, David was one of the folks I considered and ultimately hired him knowing he would do a thorough job in following the facts, the law, and of course, reporting to the public where appropriate, where his investigation has led, which he's done today.
Just to give you an example, in 19 months, there's 578 days. Divide that into 700,000. It cost this investigation $1,211 per day.
He gets nothing out of this. He charged below market rate to ensure that a thorough investigation was done, and that's exactly what happened here, and that's what the family deserved.
Do you expect there to be any kind of report issued about non-criminal findings? Like Attorney Meyer mentioned, that there might not be cause to prosecute other folks, but just do we get more information about what all was going on?
So it's an ongoing investigation, and as it unfolds, Attorney Meyer, and where appropriate, either together or separately, will continue to update the public on what can be shared. It's obviously an ongoing investigation, so we have to be extremely careful. That being said, Attorney Meyer was tasked with an independent investigation to look into the facts and the circumstances surrounding Enrique's death, and that is what he has focused on. In addition to that, I also think it's equally important that the administration, EOPS, MSP, which I know Colonel Noble is already doing, look at reforms to bring about. I know that is underway, and I fully support the Colonel in those endeavors as they go forward. And of course, as more becomes public and able to share, I will do that.
What is the current status of these troopers? Are they currently on the force, or are they on?
That's a question for MSP.
Are you able to share where they will be summoned and who will be taking over the case or who will be leading the case?
The indictments were just unsealed this morning. And as I indicated, we just had an opportunity to meet with the family over the weekend.
Yeah, right.
And again this
Sharon,
morning. And the court process will then undertake. And as I said, I've been in contact with counsel for each of these four individuals, and we will coordinate with the court to schedule an arraignment hearing in the near future.
David, can you expand a little bit on the perjury charge? What I know you can't go into too many underlying facts, but how serious is that in your mind, a sergeant committing a perjury on this?
Well, I'm not going to offer any of my personal opinions, respectfully. I think I outlined within my ethical and legal parameters and obligations what the allegations are, and everything else will play out in court.
AG
Last
Campbell, how about
question.
you? Do you want to comment on a state police charge of committing perjury allegedly in this case?
I would just echo what Attorney Myers echoed to ensure that this case continues to unfold, respecting the rights of all involved, and of course due process. More will be shared as it unfolds in the courts, and he will share more when that's appropriate.
That's the last.
All right. So there's that. And then obviously, just a few weeks ago, we had the charging of Jennifer Penton, Rodriguez, and now my brain's going to freeze. Lamont is on Wednesday. We had Penton, Rodriguez, and Montanez that were charged just a few weeks ago in Worcester Superior. And I'm going to play a little bit of the after hearing. We'll play some of the comments from their attorneys, which is really bizarre that they came out and spoke to the public. But, you know, I get it. Unions, state police, we got to get out there. We got to talk. They said some very fucking tone deaf things in their conversations, but let's hear that.
If everyone can back up, we have a number of people that are going to say a few things. Just go back a little bit.
Back up.
Back up, please.
Oh, by the way, real quick, before we get into that, I'll show you Meyer's team that was hired to investigate. So you had David Meyer, of course. You had Lisa Holmes. She is a retired Boston police deputy superintendent, has expertise in one of the investigation and key questioning, whether the State Police Academy military style is effective preparation for dangers faced by troopers on the job, or if they place recruits in unnecessary risks. Holmes ran the Boston Police Department Training Academy as the head of the Bureau of Professional Development before retiring in 2018 and opening a consulting firm, which now she serves as the Boston Cannabis Licensing Board's to teach courses in criminology and policing in the University of Massachusetts, Boston. You have Thomas, I think it's Leonard. He was a former assistant special agent in charge of the FBI Boston branch, a 24-year career there. Gretchen I think it's Lundgren. She also is, was a founder and chief of executive mission advisory group, a Boston-based private investigation and service committee. You had Kimberly Lawrence, senior specialist in Edward Davis Company, security consulting firm founded by former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis. You had Norma, Leong, and she said spent 34 years as Boston Police Department, retiring in 2017, a deputy superintendent overseeing major crime units, according to her LinkedIn. She worked with the director of security for Boston Harbor Hotel before retiring. You had Paul Joyce. Joyce was an assistant professional criminal justice and criminology at Salve Regina University. Spent 28 years as a Boston police officer. Robert Harrington, former Boston police superintendent, had spent a decade in the Department Homicide Unit and was appointed lead in Internal Investigation Bureau. So pretty strong team overall to come in and investigate this. I mean, look, they brought in someone who was a former FBI agent. That's how serious they took this, and gladly, thank you. Let's go to outside Worcester. Right. Nope, not that one. I will get the correct screen here at some point. Let's see. Yeah, this one here. Here we go.
Stay under the lid here. So.
You know what I'm happy about? I'm happy about this. Freeze Frame says, I'm happy to see the SB case is getting more coverage, and I hope to see more on YouTube because it's time. Yeah, I got to start kind of diving back into Sandra Birchmore's case as well, too. I've been sharing a lot of the articles on X, but I've been so just ingrained in this case. And there will be points where it's going to lag because you're going to get, a first pretrial hearing is not going to be until like June, and it could be bumped back. Probably not going to see trial until maybe fall or maybe even just next year. So there will be some lag. There will be some times I can jump back into Sandra Birchmore's case as well. But the thing that I'm really happy about this is every single time I do an Enrique stream, I see the crowd and the viewers building. And I really do appreciate that. And I know the family appreciates it. And I can't stress how important this case is. And you're going to hear me say that over and over and over again. This is going to be the case you're going to want to watch. There's a lot of shit that went down and a lot of shit that went down that was wrong on, you know, the backs of pretty much the 4 of these officers so far, allegedly on the backs of the 4 of these officers. So, I mean, everybody wants, you know, to end corruption. This is it. I mean, there was a manipulation of fucking documents. Someone allegedly lied in front of the grand jury multiple times and had the opportunity to straighten that shit up and didn't. Took it on the part that I'm just going to fucking lie about it and save my own ass. Jesus Christ.
Can we move up a little bit so we can block this exit? We can't block the exit. We can't block the exit. Go back, folks. We gotta go back. Keep going, keep going. Back up. Go back to the middle, please. There's no question that the untimely death of Trooper Enrique Delgado-Garcia,
Stoneface Penton,
September 11th, 2024, at the State Police Academy in New Braintree, is nothing short of a tragedy. Because of that, we continue to offer condolences and prayers to his family and to his loved ones. But the tragedy of Trooper Delgado is not a crime. Filing these criminal charges will not bring Trooper Delgado-Garcia back, and the Commonwealth's effort to apply
I did see that
an attenuated and convoluted legal theory to the underlying facts will not change them, nor will it transform this tragedy into criminal conduct. My client, Jennifer Penton, Lieutenant Penton, is not a criminal. She has devoted the last 24 years of her entire adult life to public safety. She rose through the ranks on merit, commendation, and excellence from patrol officer in New Bedford to shift commander and station commander as a lieutenant with the Massachusetts State Police. She also honorably served her country,
even worse,
for 8 years in the Army National Guard, including a deployment to Kabul, Afghanistan, in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Today, she and the other defendants all pled not guilty and asserted their innocence. Indictments are nothing more than accusations. Allegations written on paper. They are not evidence. They prove nothing. They, no matter how forcefully stated, no matter how creatively constructed, they cannot substitute for proof. In this case, we believe the evidence will show an effort to attempt to force round pegs into square holes. We haven't seen any evidence as of yet, but what I do know and what we have on behalf of Lieutenant Penton is this. Her record of service, which is a record that reflects a generation's worth of commitment, professionalism, bravery, loyalty, and dedication to her country, her state, her duty, and to her badge. I am confident, we're all confident, when all of the evidence is presented, including video of the event at issue, when the governing policies and protocols are fully explained, when the relevant documents are introduced, and when all of the pertinent facts and circumstances are made known, the evidence will show that this involved one-on-one consensual contact consistent with established policy and protocol. And when that happens, my client, all of our clients, will be fully and completely exonerated. Thank you.
Lieutenant, is there anything you regret? Lieutenant Penton, can you say you've done nothing wrong? Lieutenant Penton?
She's pled not guilty.
Yeah, they protect her.
Involvement in the Quigley case?
Yeah.
She has no comment.
How do you intend to prove her innocence?
We don't have to
In the
prove
Quigley case, she was caught on camera essentially having some conversation about covering for Quigley. And I've actually FOIA'd that body cam footage. And here's something that I'm going to kind of add to this conversation. And I want to see how the Suffolk County's DA's office refers to me, but I'll kind of give you a little nugget here. So I saw some of that body cam footage on Boston 25. So I FOIA'd it, and I FOIA'd the footage. And the Norfolk DA's office told me that they located the footage, but they're basically not going to give it to me. But I find that it's funny that the Boston 25 gets some of that footage and uses it in a crawl in a 30, well, it was probably about a 2-minute spot on Boston 25, and they talk about the Quigley case. So Norfolk DA's office says they're not going to give it to me, and it's out of Suffolk. It's out of the Suffolk DA's office. So I just FOIA'd them the other day, and I want to see how they treat it. So why is the mainstream media, Boston 25, able to get this footage, and I'm not as an independent entity? They just give me, oh, well, it's part of an open investigation. Well, why does Boston 25 have it already? And that's the same thing that I said to the Canton PD. Remember back in trial 2 where we saw the video of Brian Higgins inside the Canton PD on the night John O'Keefe was killed. And I FOIA'd that footage, and they said, well, we can't give it to you because it would what was the language they used? It would basically, give up their private access areas, look into their private access areas. And I'm like, this was fucking played during a court hearing. It was publicized. It was played across national and world TV. We saw the video, and they wouldn't give it to me.
thing. The burden is completely and utterly on the Commonwealth at each and every step of the way. She's presumed innocent now and will be throughout the entirety of the trial.
You objected to the statement of the case that was discussed and hasn't been released yet. Can you talk about what your objections were?
I'm not going to talk about what was stated on sidebar.
Are you confident that your client's done nothing wrong?
Confident that my client is completely and totally innocent, and the evidence will establish that.
Issue with
We'll let somebody else speak now.
I'm going to give you some inside info. I had some sources that came in and said, this fucking guy's a shitty fucking lawyer, by the way. He's a real shitty fucking lawyer. Penton's lawyer is shitty, from what I heard. I had some sources come forward that knew somewhere where his office used to be, and he is a real shitty lawyer, from what I heard.
The issue with the
Good luck.
procedures.
Good afternoon. Kevin Reddington, I represent my name is Martha was right here. So I echo the comments of my brother counsel.
Thank you, Rando. I appreciate your support. $10. Fucking Kevin Reddington. Look at this.
Veterans. He served in Afghanistan. He's a hard-working, dedicated police officer. And this academy training, it's so easy for people to say, oh my goodness, it was just too rough. It was just, you guys are reckless. This is reckless conduct that they're alleging. Manslaughter tragedies that they're alleging against people that were doing their job, consistent with rules and regulations and what has been recognized as valid training. And when you think about it, what is the purpose of the training? Put yourself in a cruiser at 3 o'clock in the morning on the side of a road in the middle of a downpour with a 300-pound guy methed out of his mind with a knife coming at you, and then tell me that this type of training is excessive or dangerous. It is not. And the only thing I can comment, and the thought occurred to me, and I know you're all familiar with
This is fucking tone deaf right here.
With Jack Nicholson, and he was the Marine, and he said, you need me on that wall. You want me on that wall to protect the people that cannot protect themselves.
So this fucking moron, okay, gets out there and talks about a few good men. The movie, A Few Good Men. I'm sure you've all seen that movie. Can you guys tell me what fucking happened in that movie? Someone please let me know in the chat. Simplify it. What happened in that movie? What happened to Private Santiago? What happened to Private Santiago? So he died. He dies in the movie because he pretty much was hazed. They were given an order. And this fucking clown, yeah, code red, exactly, fucking died. Died from a code red. So they were fucking told to haze him, shut him up, got the order, and he fucking dies. A recruit, well, it wasn't a recruit, I think it was a private in the movie. He fucking dies. And this clown gets out there and compares this situation to that. Probably not the best thing to say in front of the media for his client.
And, it's either George Orwell or Winston Churchill that said, people are able to sleep secure at night in their beds because there are men and women who are able to defend them against people that would do violence on them. And that's what you have right here. This is open season on police officers. You can see it every day. These people, and I echo his comments, Brad's comments, they will be acquitted because a jury is going to evaluate this evidence and say these people did nothing wrong. Thanks.
Can you talk about your objection to the statement of the case?
I'm not going to comment on the sidebar.
The sidebar was public. The judge said it was public.
What was that?
The sidebar wasn't public.
Any expression of regret from any of the clients?
I have the sidebar on my channel.
I was friendly with
Listen to
this
it.
gentleman. And as Brad said, he's a wonderful guy. These people, of course, these people, David was very, very friendly with this man, loved this man. So there are, it's not regrets as much as sympathy and sadness. But they did nothing wrong.
So should anything be done? We have two more speakers.
My name is Glenn McKinley, and I represent Edward Rodriguez. This is nothing more than a tragic accident. The special independent prosecutor should never have brought in the criminal court. We believe, we're confident, that the evidence will bear out that all of these people, including Edwin Rodriguez, will be acquitted at the time of trial. Once we get an opportunity to review the evidence, we just got some amount of it today. We're certain that this is going to be resolved favorably for each and every one of these people. They did not violate any criminal statute.
Have you seen video of the incident?
Seen no discovery at this point. Which is one of the reasons we made objections that you heard about on the record.
Why are you choosing to speak with us all today? You guys could have walked away. Why are you all in front of the cameras?
We think it's important that the public hear what happened.
You know why they were forced in front of the cameras? Look at everybody behind them. Who do you think is all there? And you're going to hear from the president of the MSP Academy Associate. He's got some big title, but that's the guy just over the shoulder to his right. Well, if I reach my hand out, it's the left. But you think that that's why they're all out there speaking? Of course. They're out there to protect the MSP. That's all the big wigs out there right now, standing behind him.
How they've been wrongly charged.
What should happen here?
Well, we don't
In
know.
this case?
We don't know. We don't have any information about that at this point. Our understanding is that this is something that will play out in the courtroom, and that the evidence will support that each and every one of them are not guilty of the charges.
Will your client continue to exercise boxing, perform boxing, train boxing, anything else?
He's still our attorney.
Excluded from doing that by the court, so he'll continue to help people in the way that he uses his skill and his training and experience. As you know, he was a national champion and a professional boxer prior to joining the time at the state police. And as such, he has a particular skill. He wanted to help these people. He wanted to help the cadets. He wanted to help the recruits. He feels as bad as anybody for what happened.
Can you, any of you say at any time during this, are you able to say now whether any of your clients saw anything amiss?
We have one more speaker.
I think he's the union president. He's the union
Good
president.
afternoon. Your name and first and last name, please, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Williams. I'm the president of the State Police Association of Massachusetts. On behalf of our association, I have some prepared remarks that I'm going to go over. We will not be answering any questions at this time. There is no dispute that the death of Enrique Delgado-Garcia was a tragedy. However, the narrative to date has been shaped by incomplete information. To ensure clarity and fairness, the association offers the following facts to be considered. First, the training session was between Trooper Delgado-Garcia and another trainee. The entire event was captured on video.
It sure was.
Providing an objective and indisputable record of the events. Second, this was a supervised environment conducted under the authority of a medical professional and a certified USA boxing instructor.
Not the day before, sir.
Excuse me, referee. Third, these members and our entire defensive
and by the way, the referee, from what I think and believe it, if I go back and read the charging document, the sanction, his I guess I don't know, they get tested and sanctioned or licensed or whatever. It was expired, so even the referee's credentials were expired.
Are among the best in the nation and all established protocols.
Oh yeah, I remember the can of corn. Remember that?
Accountability is essential,
Avocante.
but it must be grounded in a strict adherence to the facts. It cannot be driven by public pressure or by incomplete and inaccurate information. It is important to stress that each of these members is entitled to the presumption of innocence.
That is true.
Both in fact and by law today, they are all innocent. And we are confident that their innocence will be upheld at the conclusion of these proceedings. In the meantime, our association looks forward to the department issuing a public statement in support of these members. Thank you.
Anything you want to say to the Delgado family, Delgado-Garcia family?
Yeah, you're gonna run away. Run away! Run away! They're like Monty Python. Run away! Here they all go. Run away, everybody!
Oh, you're good. I gotta go get that.
Yeah. Everybody get that?
There's the big blue wall. Protector.
Excuse me.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. Thanks for being here.
Enrique! Justicia! Justicia!
Say his name! Justice for Enrique!
All right, that was out in front of Worcester. And then about a week later, Jennifer Penton faced her perjury charges in Middlesex County. And I was there for that as well. And we'll play her entering the court and then play the after. It's Jennifer Penton arriving at court in Middlesex. Here you go. Not so many people there this time around. See how the crowd is thinned? Support crowd is thinned. Jennifer, any comment today on the charges that you're facing?
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Jennifer, any comment for the Delgado-Garcia family?
Shame on you, Penton. You're the new proctor. Penton, you're the new proctor. Shame on you.
Any comments, Jennifer?
You're the new proctor.
I love Renee Rose. Oh, she just giving it to her. You're the new proctor. I love that. Thank you, Renee. You're wonderful. All right, let's see this. Walking out of court. This is after a perjury hearing. We'll hear the press conference. Here we go.
Shame on you, failure as a Enrique.
If you're ready, my name is Brad Bailey. I represent Lieutenant Jennifer Penton. Obviously, this morning she pleaded not guilty to the charge she is facing here in Middlesex County. We don't have any evidence in this case in terms of the allegation here at this particular point, but the discovery is ongoing. But I can tell you, notwithstanding, I am extremely confident that at the end of the day, the evidence will show she has committed no wrongs, did not engage in any criminal conduct, and the charges here will be proven to be not true, notwithstanding the fact that we don't have to prove a single thing. I can tell you that I anticipate the evidence will be that my client, based on her 24 years of law enforcement service, training, and specialization, did her duty. She answered questions. She did not invoke her Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. She came forward because she had absolutely nothing to hide and because she did nothing wrong here. I also anticipate that the evidence will show that she was questioned for upwards of 4 hours in one single session.
Even worse.
We're at the very start of what's going to be a long journey.
Not wait to hear all that. But it's even worse. You're questioned for 4 hours. She had an opportunity within that 4 hours to allegedly tell the truth. You were given the opportunity for 4 hours.
Have every belief that she will be found guilty of this charge, and the same level of confidence that she will be found not guilty of the charges in Elizabeth County.
You said guilty. I know I'm going to re-say that. You said
You're
confident you'll find guilty.
Confidence is that she will be found not guilty. Yeah, I apologize. Just as I do on the charges in Worcester County, that she will be found not guilty as well.
Do you expect her to testify?
Yeah, possibly. Decide something like that at this particular point. Obviously, it's her right not to, but she has every right to testify. And as I said moments ago, she has nothing to hide here because she's done nothing wrong.
On that note, have there been any plea discussions, or do you anticipate this will go to trial?
I don't know why there would be plea discussions for somebody who is completely innocent and hasn't done anything wrong here, particularly in a case where I believe the evidence will establish that she's not guilty, has done nothing wrong with it except to do her duty and do it well for 24 years.
You said it was a 4-hour interrogation. Is there a suggestion there you think that was excessively long or that it led to some misunderstandings?
I'm simply stating what I anticipate the evidence will be. How that will be used and how that will come out is yet to be determined, but I think it speaks for itself.
You mentioned in Worcester, and again here today, with my 20 plus years in service. If you want to answer this, because you can, do you want to go back to state police? Does she want to be a law enforcement officer?
Right now, my client is focused on these cases and these charges, but in my opinion.
So wait till my question and watch how this shakes up Bailey, because he wasn't fucking ready for it. I love this. Watch how this the question I ask him shakes him up. And I will continue to ask him this when I'm in front of him. And I'm going to ask Jennifer Penton next time. I'm going to ask Casey Lamont if they tote him out there and do a presser I'm going to ask him the same question and see how he responds. Lamonte, I'm sorry. Listen to this.
For each day that she sits out,
I get him.
the public is being deprived of a superb law enforcement professional who has risen through the ranks on merit, from a patrol person in New Bedford all the way to a lieutenant in Massachusetts State Police. And along the way,
Watch his reaction. Wait,
she also served her country in Afghanistan in Operation Enduring Freedom. This is a patriot. This is a law enforcement professional. This is someone who has every reason to hold her head high. And we move forward into this case with the utmost of confidence.
Any statement to the Delgado-Garcia family?
Already said that we send our condolences and our prayers for something that is an absolute tragedy. But we believe that the evidence will show is not a crime.
There's an additional investigation at State Police going on about what happened here. Are you eagerly awaiting those results? Do you think it'll become evidence in this case?
I'm not going to comment on any of that right now. I've said what I have to say, and I appreciate everybody's time and attention, and I appreciate the correction, because sometimes those things happen.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Enrique's dead, Jennifer. It's your responsibility. You're responsible,
Renee
Jennifer.
Rose is so great.
You're responsible for his death. You're responsible, and then you lied. And then you lied. You lied to the grand jury.
Oh, Renee Rose is great.
Somebody died. It's on your hands, bro. How can you put the blood on your hands? You crooked ass attorney. You're crooked. The client's crooked. The system's crooked. You're crooked. And the way behind you is crooked.
Every guy behind you's crooked. I love it. It's like, what is it? Fucking, what was that movie with Pacino, The Courtroom? You're out of order. He's out of order. This whole fucking courtroom's out of order. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, I got him. What was that? You're out of order. I'm out of order. This whole fucking courtroom's out of order. I like that guy, the other guy. It's like, you're crooked. They're crooked. Let's go back and listen to that. And Renee Rose, God bless you. I love you. She's just fucking letting Penton have it. You know? I love it.
Attorney.
Crooked ass attorney.
Crooked. The client's crooked.
Crooked.
The system's crooked.
Crooked.
You're crooked. And the way behind you
is
is
crooked.
I
I love this shit. And he just keeps going too. Free speech. Let's go. Freedom of speech. The crazy thing about it, we're out there the whole time, you know, standing out there. I showed up, I was probably standing out front, maybe about 45 minutes. This guy was not around. We go in, we have the court hearing, we come out, and just as the press conference starts, he showed up behind us, and he just starts as they're walking, just fucking giving it.
Underneath the prison though, right?
Here we go.
Who's that one?
Came out of nowhere.
There's the very underneath the prison, but no.
This guy in the green.
Everybody who has a badge on can walk spot free.
He's got like a badge.
It's a joke. It's a joke. We're not live at the moment. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. God bless America. God bless the real America. All y'all legal murderers. That's all you are. Legal murderers.
I don't know where this guy came from.
I believe in it. Do you? You guys have a great day, you murderers.
Oh, man. Yeah, and that's that. And then they kind of hung out in the back of that parking lot, which was like a long fucking walk for her. Like, why would you even do that? Why would you? I would have had a fucking car right out from that press conference, got her in there and gone. But they took her the fucking long way out, right? That guy was just smacking around. I would have had her out. If that was my client, I would have had a fucking the car ready right there, right just on the other wall of the press. Got in, gone, you know. But they took her the fucking long way, and this guy just followed. You're crooked. The guy behind you crooked. You're all fucking crooked. That guy was great. Yeah, walk of shame. Walk of shame. All right, let's do a little bit of acknowledgement here. Simon, thank you so much for being a member for a month. I appreciate it. Says, love Mike of the Young Jerks and Brian as the LTL, standing up for corruption and trying to get justice for the victims and the families involved. Thank you. Karen, $10 says, and the mom doesn't speak English. And this is earlier in the live stream. No one even there was translating for them. It's shameful how they were treated. That's the way out of the building. They were trapped. Thanks for the 10. I appreciate it. Rando says, proud of the dogging determination and all that you've done to help this family get justice. I appreciate that. You know, I at least intend to think that hopefully, you know, that billboard I put up, almost 2 years ago, you know, got some eyes and some people thinking and you know, rattled the cage a little bit. I at least hope to think that helped. And it's a very proud moment that this case is where it's at. I'm really happy that it was investigated the way that it was. Obviously, you know, there's some people being held accountable right now, facing some pretty serious fucking charges, and deservingly so, if they are involved in any of the, you know, the alleged crimes that are in that charging document. You know, they need to be held responsible. And I just keep going back to, you know, these attorneys keep popping up. Oh, their military service, their time in the service, their time in other departments that they did and worked their way all the way up the chain. If that's true, and you're going to hold those credentials out there for the public, then these people should have known better, and they should have done better. And I hate to keep referencing this movie, but it's been brought up. You know, at the very end of A Few Good Men, you know, what is it? Downey keeps saying, I think it's Downey. So what did we do wrong? What did we do wrong? And then you have that realization, and I can't remember his name. Was it Downing? And I forget the other guy's name, but he said, we didn't do right by, and I'm forgetting the names in the movie. Santiago. We didn't do right for Santiago. You know, and that's what's going on here. That they didn't do the right thing for Enrique, and that was to be a leader, and that was to be someone responsible for his life, and to step in and medically evaluate him under their leadership. And that's where this went wrong, and it went sideways, and he died because of that result. So that's where we're at. So Wednesday, I'll let everybody know, I'm not sure if this is going to be televised. They said at the Penton hearing, they did have a courtroom camera in there, but we only got a snippet. They didn't live stream the whole thing. I'm hoping they live stream Lamonte's hearing. That'll be in Worcester. The time has been changed. It was at 11:30 in the morning. I actually talked, this is really crazy. I talked to the court clerk today via email. I'm surprised they got back to me and said that it's been changed to 2 p.m. So I'm going to keep checking the docket just to make sure everything is correct. But this is going to be on Wednesday at 2 p.m. And I will be in Worcester to report and sit in the press pool and report from the press pool. So that's where we're at. I think I had a Venmo that came through too. Let me just get to that. Heather, thank you so much for the 18. Sorry for the sandwich comment in the stream. I don't mean to be negative towards you. It just chaps my ass. I didn't even see that, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'll read your comment after the stream in the full comment, but I didn't even see it, to be honest with you. But thank you for the 18. I appreciate it. Simon says, thank you, Brian LTL. Mod and chat for making me welcome. Love from Leeds, England, UK. Stay safe, friends. Yes. And that, my friends, is going to end this edition of Let's Talk Live. I want to appreciate, we have like 500 people watching tonight across X and YouTube. I love the fact that every time I'm talking about this case, that the audiences are growing and people are tuning in and people are starting to get involved. And please, if you can, share these stories, share these live streams, subscribe over here if you haven't subscribed. This is going to be a big and major case here in the state of Massachusetts, and I'm going to be here through the entire thing, reporting and talking about this case. There will be lags along the way. I will continue to dig into the story and try to find information that we haven't heard yet, and maybe we can start getting some of his friends or maybe people that worked at the DA's office to come forward and talk a little bit about who Enrique Delgado-Garcia was. I'd love to shed some light on that. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out. Tomorrow is Sunday. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do a members only tomorrow night. I'm trying to keep it Enrique Delgado-Garcia focused this week. We did kind of a recap tonight. I'm not really too sure of what else, we can do. We pretty much showed everything here. I don't know. Maybe we recap the Worcester conference, and I do have the sidebar in there, so maybe we'll go over that tomorrow. I'm not too sure. Maybe a members only, so stay tuned. Maybe I take a day off. I don't know. A lot of maybes. But Wednesday I'll have some video for you guys, hopefully some interviews, and I will be up there in Worcester. So thank you all. Thanks for being here. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys all soon. Take care. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Peace.